How much leverage should you use in your trading? This is a question I get asked a lot. They either ask me that or they ask me, what's a good leverage? Now, they're asking the wrong question. What they should be asking is, how much should I risk? Once you know how much you should risk, then you'll know what sort of leverage to use. So I'm going to show you in this video 3 different ways to discover what type of leverage you should use. And remember, the first thing we need to establish is what sort of risk are we going to use. So I want to risk 5% of my capital on this trade. Now that we know how much we are going to risk, now we're able to calculate the leverage. So let's get into it. Now, for us to be able to calculate this leverage, we first need to know what is our entry and what is our stop loss. Because these 2 important things, the entry and the stop loss, with the amount that we want to risk, it's going to help us discover what leverage to use. There's 3 ways, as I said, that we can calculate this leverage. So the first one that we're going to talk about is on your brokerage. Usually when you trade on your brokerage, like I remember when I used to trade on FTX, triggered.
Oh no, this can't be.
So usually on these brokerages like FTX, for example, or Binance or whatever, obviously FTX, I don't play around with that. But usually what would happen is once you put in your entry and your stop loss, there was this little cursor, sort of like a status bar thing. It moved around with the leverage, and then down on one side, it actually told you how much you were risking. It told you how much you were going to lose if it didn't work out. So let's say you have $100,000 and you want to risk 5% of that. That means that you're going to risk $5,000. So if everything goes to rubbish, you've just lost $5,000. So what would happen on this brokerage is when you move around this ticker that gives you the amount of leverage, you would keep going until you saw that you would lose $5,000, and then it would automatically put the leverage for you. So that's the first way. Now the second way is to do via calculation. It's not the nicest way, but I'm going to give you this nice calculation that you can use so that you can figure out how much leverage you should use in your trading. So the calculation is as follows. What is your entry? 1. What is your stop loss? 2. Now, what we must do is we must take our entry and subtract it from our stop loss. So if you are shorting a market and you're going down, your stop loss is going to be higher than your entry, so you're going to get a negative number. So what I like to say with this calculation is you say entry minus stop loss, and then you get the absolute value. So what I mean by the absolute value is if it's a positive number, cool, leave it. But if it's a negative number, take that negative and make it a positive. So if it's, for example, minus 100, instead of taking that minus, just say it's 100. Okay. Then once you have this nice number, you need to divide it by your entry and times it by 100, which will give you it in percentage terms. So let's do a simple example for you. So let's say my entry is 100 and my stop loss is 95. So we'd go 100 minus 95 gives me 5. Then remember, we take that 5 and we divide it by our entry, which is 100. 5 over 100 times 100. That gives us 5%. Cool. So now we're on the same level. Then what I want you to do is that number that we said we want to risk. What was the number? We said 5%. So you want to risk 5%. So you take that number, that 5%, okay, and then you divide it by that other number that we calculated with the other percentage term. In this example, we actually got the same number. So we got 5% over 5. Divide the 2. 5 over 5 gives me 1. So my leverage is going to be 1x. So just so that you get this example again, let's do it again. But now let's change that initial number. So let's say entry was 100, stop loss was 98. 100 minus 98 gives me 2. Then we say 2 over my entry, which is 100, 2 over 100 times 100 gives me my 2%. Now, what was our risk? We were risking 5%. So we've got 2% and we've got 5%. So what we do is we take our 5%, which is the amount we want to risk, and we divide it by that other number. So 5% over 2% gives us 2.5x. So then our leverage in this example is 2.5x leverage. Now I'm going to teach you the third way, which is using TradingView. So now let's get on to our TradingView. So we're going to go into TradingView, which is the software that I use to look at my trades, to use my technical analysis. So if we're looking here, we're on Bitcoin USD. What I do is I find this tool. It's called the price range tool here. So if you go here and then you find this price range tool. Let's say in this example, I want to get in at this blue point here. So my entry is at this blue point, and let's say my stop loss is down here. So what this tool is able to do is it's able to tell me how much in percentage terms I'm going to lose. So if this is my entry, so let's say entry is here, and let's say that's my stop loss. Now, if you can see this bit in the middle, which says minus 1.96%, means that if I buy the price here at this point, and it goes down to my stop loss, then what's happened is Bitcoin has gone down by minus 1.96%. So you look at this middle number here. So it's already calculated it for me. This number that's just been calculated for me is that same number that we did before, where we said entry minus stop loss divided by entry times 100. That has already just been done for us. Now, again, I'm going to disregard this negative. Okay, so I'm just going to take 1.96. So then for me to calculate how much I should leverage, what I'm going to say is do the same sort of calculation, the last bit of the calculation, where I said, how much do I want to risk? My 5% divided by 1.96%, and that'll give me my leverage. But let's say in this example, let's just make it easier for calculation purposes. And let's say that this number was 2%. So it would be 5% divided by 2% equals 2.5x. Then I know that in this particular trade, I'm going to use 2.5x leverage. And that's why I said it's more important to know how much you should risk, and you should know your entry and your stop loss before you worrying about leverage. Because the big problem that a lot of people do is they don't worry about the entry and stop loss. A lot of people don't even think about a stop loss because they don't think that they're wrong. And what tends to happen is they just think of leverage. So they just think, oh, I'm just going to use 10x leverage. And they haven't done this calculation. And then they wonder why 2 days later when they look at their account and it's at 0, and then you're broke again. You're broke! And if some of you are asking me, okay, Daniel, but how much should I risk? I don't know how much I should risk. Then you first need to understand and know what type of trader you are. And if you're not quite sure what type of trader you are, you can watch this video right over there.